In this video, we are going to talk about the mind-blowing process on how chicken is processed. This amazing chicken factory uses automatic main processing machines. What I'm going to show you might be offending, and therefore viewers' discretion is advised. Poultry is a major source of consumable animal protein. For example, per capita consumption of poultry in the United States has more than quadrupled since the end of World War II, as the industry developed a highly efficient production system. Chickens and turkeys are the most common sources of poultry. However, other commercially available poultry meats come from ducks, geese, pigeons, quails, pheasants, ostriches, and emus. At the slaughterhouse, turkeys are hung upside down by their weak and crippled legs before their heads are dragged through an electrified stunning tank, which immobilizes them, but does not kill them. Many of the terrified birds dodge the tank, and, therefore, are completely conscious when their throats are slit. The birds then proceed to the neck incising stage, where the neck skin cutter pro removes the complete neck with skin, or only neck skin from the gruel. The main registered killer M2.0 has high-performance solutions for line speeds up to 15,000 bph. Its advanced system positions the head uniformly, eliminating dragging to perform the most precise incision for optimum bleed out in the bleeding trough. It enables 2 different cuts in one machine. Depending on the setting, it either makes a frontal incision in the neck or a complete decapitation of the head. Also note that at some point in time an electrical stimulator will be used. The normal maturation time for birds after slaughter is 6 hours. But with a small electrical charge applied at least 90 seconds after kill, reduces process time to 2.5 hours and eliminates the need for product storage. Let's get to the jacuzzi scalder, where scalding stage takes place. The scalding stage is required to loosen feather follicles in preparation for mechanical plucking. In some slaughterhouses, it is also used as a preparation for removal of the epidermis. Scalding also has a key part in removing pollution from the bird to prevent cross-contamination of bacteria. The birds pass through a series of plucking machines that are equipped with motor-driven rotating discs, each operating a number of plucking fingers. The discs closely follow the contours of the bird, and water spray removes the plucked feathers. The easy and simple adjustment in height and width, even during production, provide excellent plucking results. Efficiency and ease of use are key features of mains plucking equipment, and their precision in operation provides optimum plucking results with an absolute minimum of incidental damage to the skin of the bird. Once the plucking is done, the birds are rinsed to get rid of any feather. Then comes the feet cutting process, with a feet cutter, a smart design that takes feet removal to a new level of efficiency. Hocks have already been separated from the whole bird. These hocks are transported in the slaughter shackle and are perfectly positioned in the feet cutter for fast, clean cuts. This cut separates the feet from the shanks. We also have the footpad inspection system, whose lesions are considered to be an important parameter for measuring broiler welfare. Systematic assessment of footpad lesion occurrence in processed flocks is also becoming part of regulations in many countries. Prepping poultry feet is then done for the de-skinning process. Feet scalder M1.0 is a highly effective scalder system which loosens skin as it moves the product by screw conveyor through a high-temperature water bath. Finally, the feet de-skinner treats the chicken by rubber plucking fingers, resulting to a cleaned product with the skin washed down the drain. The non-whole chicken product, that is the hocks and feet, are chilled for packing and distribution. Afterwards, the head and trachea pull away. Individual processing units capture and remove heads, trachea and esophagus with downward force, with offal scraped into a receiving bin. The system can handle a wide product weight range. Let's head over to the evisceration, a profound impact on poultry processing. This formerly labor-intensive activity with limited throughput has rapidly evolved into a high-capacity and virtually labor-free process. As a result, the evisceration department nowadays turns out unprecedented volumes of properly eviscerated birds that, within the processing value chain, have the characteristics of a commodity. The evisceration department generates the raw material for the second stage in processing, where product value is increased by cut-up and deepening. Here, we have a number of machines which eases the slaughtering process. Let's begin with the vent cutter, the first of the 3 key machines in poultry evisceration, designed to process broilers, breeders, and layers. It cuts loose the vent, cloaca, bursa of Fabricius, and places it on the back of birds. The vent cutter uses a mechanical vent clamping device. No vacuum or compressed air is required, increasing the machine's reliability. It has several unique features that assure an optimal cut while processing a wide weight range. Optimal positioning of the bird with regard to the vent knife prior to and during grilling ensures a perfect bird handling and makes sure that the birds are positioned in the best possible way. This is highly important in order to achieve the most optimal cut independent of the weight ranges that are processed. Furthermore, a correct positioning of the bird virtually eliminates the risk of intestine damage due to miscuts. This of course is highly important, as otherwise the birds could be contaminated with feces which unfavorably influence product hygiene. The bird is fed into the machine with its back towards the unit. The unit moves close to the gizzard and loosens the gizzard fat from the gizzard without damaging the bird. When the bird leaves the machine, it can be eviscerated with the Maestro eviscerator. The new Maestro eviscerator first transfers the viscera pack to an organ shackle, positioning it for inspection. The viscera pack then goes through the intestines and gall remover. Next, the liver harvester scrapes the liver from the gizzard to be cleaned in a drum washer and presented on a liver inspection belt. The remaining heart with lungs and gizzard is separated into two streams by the heart and gizzard separator. The first stream goes to the heart and lung separator, and the second stream presents the gizzards for further processing, either manually or automatically. We also have the cropping machine, the patented neck support block. This neck support block assures that the neck is kept in a uniform position as the cropper drill removes crop rests, the esophagus and trachea. The extended stroke and the increased number of revolutions allow for a thorough cleaning of the neck skin. Highly important factor is to keep the neck skin intact, as damages to the neck skin can cause weight loss or the downgrading of the griller. Furthermore, the drill drive mechanism reduces mechanical wear and assures an extended spindle life cycling for decreased maintenance intervals and costs. The cropping machine is placed in a 180 degrees curve in the overhead conveyor as one of the final machines in the evisceration department. Birds are processed with the breast of the bird towards the machine center. Sets of static and spring-loaded guides position the birds into the processing units. The birds are positioned by a centering bracket placed between the legs of the bird. The rotating drill driven by the curve goes into the body cavity and removes the remaining bits of the crop and esophagus. The drill is cleaned with a rotating brush before it goes backwards through the body cavity. Then comes the neck breaker, a flexible, efficient and fast. Choose neck cuts based on what you are selling. Longer necks for extra weight. Necks for sale. Set the cuts precisely where you want them, and the neck breaker will do the rest. At high speeds, up to 15,000 bhp, the neck breaker is innovatively designed as a carousel, driven by an overhead conveyor. A vertical main shaft with curved drum controls the movement of the processing units. This guarantees a hygienic design for the entire machine with the highest safety standards and longest maintenance intervals. The neck breaker is positioned on a 180-degree curve for line speeds up to 12,000 bhp. Birds are fed into the machine with breasts toward the unit. Sets of static and spring-loaded guides position the birds with a centering bracket placed between the legs. An under-unit deploys two shoulder supports which lift each bird and eliminates differences in bird size. At the same time, wings, broken or not, are lifted up and cannot be damaged or removed with the braking unit. When the birds are positioned correctly, the curve-controlled braking unit brakes the necks. The length of the neck can be controlled by adjusting inserts in the cam. Finally, the neck, when removed from the carcass, is dropped onto the receiving bin. A rotating wiper removes the necks from the bin to be collected. Let's head over to the final inspection, which gets your product ready for total cleaning by removing lung parts and other small debris from the cavity after evisceration. Precise placement of birds on the line is key for optimal vacuuming. Here, birds are fed into the machine with their backs toward the unit. Sets of static and spring-loaded guides deliver them into the processing line, where they're positioned by a centering bracket placed between the legs. When birds are correctly in place, the suction head moves into the body cavity with the vacuum unit, removing all the small loose pieces. In case of an empty shackle, the vacuum unit is not activated. After all is said and done, the birds pass through an inside and outside bird washer. Here, medium pressure loosening of dirt followed by low pressure rinsing leave fat lifting cams and spinning nozzles. This results in thoroughly cleaned birds and extremely low water consumption due to the efficient use of water. All washers have a double stroke action for improved washing results. Furthermore, some models are prepared for the use of decontamination agents. The bird washer is placed in a 180 degrees curve of the overhead conveyor as the final machine in the evisceration department. The carcasses are fed into the machine with the backs towards the center of the machine. Sets of static and spring-loaded guides push the carcasses into the processing units. The carcasses are positioned by a centering bracket placed between the legs. The vent cutter is placed in a 180 degrees curve of the overhead conveyor, often as the first machine in the evisceration line, directly after the rehanger/hot cutter. Bleeded and defeathered birds are hanging in shackles of the overhead conveyor and are guided into thine feet section of the machine with the back of the birds towards the center of the machine. Sets of static and spring-loaded guides position the birds into the processing units of the vent cutter. The birds are held in position by the lower part of the processing unit. Two side supports lift each bird and pushes it against a centering bracket placed between the legs of the bird. Next, the drilling section of the processing unit is lowered onto the bird. First, the centering con enters the vent. A clamping bush, placed in the center of the tube-shaped vent knife, is lowered. The skin of the bird is clamped between centering cone and clamp bush and lifted a little. Next, rotating vent knife cuts the skin around the vent, thus releasing the vent from the rest of feedbird. Finally, the bird is lowered again, while the vent is still clamped in the drilling unit. This means that the intestines are pulled out over a length of about 100 millimeters. On release from the drilling unit, the vent is positioned over the back of the bird, and the bird is released from the machine. After each cycle, the drill unit is cleaned using a high-pressure water jet. Next is the opening machine. With its patented scissors mechanism, it can handle a wide weight range within one machine setting. This is partly due to the fact that the processing unit is uniquely positioned against the keel bone before cutting. This positively affects product quality as the breasts remain perfectly covered with skin. The typical design of the centering briquette results in a very limited number of damaged guts. The spring-loaded cutting mechanism protects the scissors from overload damage. Combined with the knife design, this makes the scissors variable, resulting in a highly uniform and consistent performance. Moreover, the scissors are virtually maintenance-free, further reducing the TCO of this machine. The opening machine is placed in a 180 degrees curve of the overhead conveyor of the evisceration line, often directly after the vent cutter. Birds are hanging in shackles of the overhead conveyor and are guided into the in-feed section of the machine with the back of the birds towards the center of the machine. Sets of static and spring-loaded guides position the birds into the processing units of the opening machine. The birds are held in position by the lower part of the processing unit. Two side supports lift each bird and pushes it against a centering bracket placed between the legs of the bird. Next, the lower, blunt part of the scissors is guided through the vent hole into the bird until it rests against the breastbone. This is done in such a way that the intestines are not damaged. The following step is the lowering of the upper, crenulated knife, cutting the abdominal skin. Finally, the bird is released from the unit. The processing unit is cleaned after each cycle using spray nozzles. Optionally, a high-pressure spray system is fitted topically in the knife and centering bracket. Let's now look at the fat retention machine. In plants processing at high speeds, even the smallest detail can make a huge difference, and maximizing yield is essential for each product. During evisceration, a considerable amount of fat is often removed from the carcass together with the viscera pack. With the main fat retention machine, the majority of the leaf fat remains attached to the carcass after removal of the viscera. After this, several options are possible. Fat pads can be harvested in the evisceration line and can be sold as a byproduct. Furthermore, it can be left in the griller and sold as whole bird, or it can be processed in the cut-up line. The fat retention machine is a unique processing step in the evisceration department, which efficiently maximizes yield.